Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Assalamu alaikum. From my side, I can't hear you. Thank you.
Welcome to the first class that was supposed to be last Monday. أهلا وسهلا فيكم جميعا. I thank you for coming today. I know it's a Saturday. And thank you for all your wishes and your emails that you sent me. It was a very minor issue that I had. And I just couldn't conduct the class. I'm really sorry for that. But we will make it up for today so we don't get delayed, and we will be on track, inshallah. And the recording of this session, as you see, this is the virtual office hours room that we have, inshallah. Okay, I'm okay. It's just the aftermath of this minor surgery is the one that is a little bit troublesome, let's say. But alhamdulillah, I'm okay, and I hope you're all doing okay, and I hope we will have a fantastic semester in this course, and I hope you're all be keeping safe. This chapter, I'm going to be talking, if you don't mind, for like 10 minutes, inshallah. Just a very quick overview, touch upon certain things here and there about our textbook, about our course. Then we will go straight into the slides and get along with this chapter, which is an introductory chapter, an important chapter, inshallah. And let's begin, okay? If you don't mind. And just a very quick reminder before I forget, the recording of this session will be, inshallah, placed on week 1, whether on session 1 or 2, or maybe on a separate session. I will ask IT to do that, not just for you guys, of course, to come back to it later on during the semester. Also, of course, for the people who could not manage to come today. We have quite a lot of people in this participants in this course. As you know, it's a faculty elective course, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I do apologize for what's happened, and I know it's the weekend today, and maybe some of you do have classes, but not just for the sake of time. If you allow me, let me just go ahead and start with a very introductory overview of the course, if you don't mind. Is that okay? Yeah, and then let's spend like just less than 5 minutes talk about very main issues, and inshallah, also let me say this from the beginning, on the common resources in the coming week maybe and the coming 2 weeks, I will also be posting um, just like 10, 15, 20 minutes tops, like guidelines and instructions and some detailed information about the course. As you know, if you had the time to go through the syllabus, and this semester there are a couple of new things that will be introduced, especially in the assessment strategy. So we will get through that also one by one and as we go along, inshallah. So I will remind you, of course, through email and everything about that. So if you have any questions later on about this class in specific, or any class, or anything I post on an audio format maybe, so we don't waste time on the chapters themselves, we can come back and talk about it maybe in this room, maybe sometimes privately on the emails or whatever that we have throughout this course, inshallah. So that's the main thing that I wanted to start with before talking about the course itself. So far, so good, inshallah. So far, so good. Yeah. If anybody, for any reason, I cannot stress this enough, cannot hear me throughout the classes, or any difficulties with my voice from any sort, please do interrupt. Use your microphone, write in the chat that I cannot hear you, even if the problem is maybe one-sided and just with one learner. We don't want anybody to miss out on anything, okay? And we try to fix it as soon as we can. Technology and the connection and connectivity and everything. Sometimes as simple as just rejoining the session is maybe mostly the solution, mostly, especially when you talk about or it's concerning the audio or talking through the Blackboard platform that we're using right now. And I'm sure that you're already familiar with those sometimes mishaps that happen. Okay, so we're talking about this course, which is teamwork. Okay, teamwork. Uh, Before going into what teamwork talks about, I just want to pinpoint one thing, that there is a small misalignment between the syllabus that you're going to see and maybe the textbook, the e-textbook that we have, but that's okay. I will sort it out, inshallah, before the class on Monday for chapter 2, and check with our department chair and see uh, there are some names of the chapters on the syllabus that do not appear on the version of this book. This version of the book is the same one that we taught last year, and there is some sort of a misalignment. These things happen. They took some of the subsections of certain chapters and put them on a chapter on their own. Maybe they wanted or intended, and this is my guess, to put on the VLE a newer version or a newer edition. Maybe, I'm not sure, but we will sort that out. In any case, the first 4 or 5 chapters are identical, so we're good to go. We're good to go. Okay. For the purposes of this course, also, we didn't have a midterm the 2 times that I taught this course before, but this time we do have a midterm, and of course we do have a final exam, and we do have 2 more additional tasks that are kind of new and old. Okay, they are from the VLE, so no worries about that. But we do not have a standalone group project, let's say, which was the norm about this course. Okay, let me go through very quickly, the names, the titles of the chapters that do appear on the textbook that we have on our VLE. Okay, again, if my voice is not clear, if it breaks up, please do interrupt immediately. Okay. We going to be talking about today group dynamics and touch upon main conceptions today. That's chapter number 1. We have group goals, social interdependence, and trust, which is going to be on Monday, God willing. Communication within groups, going to be the title of chapter number 3. Experiential learning, chapter 4. Chapter 5, leadership, power and using power, chapter number 6. Decision making is chapter number 7. Chapter 8, controversy and creativity, which does not appear on your syllabus. And this is one of the things that I want to double check on that. Managing conflict of interest, valuing diversity also is missing in the syllabus, but it is there on the ebook. And also we're going to check about that. Cooperative learning in the classroom, same thing. Then leading growth and counseling group, which is a very important chapter, and I hope we will spend good time on that one, because it deals with many facets of not just, to be honest, management science. It will, I'm hoping it will be one of the main corners, hint, hint, okay, of this course, and we will maybe learn about that, and I'm hoping we can have maybe even maybe have an extra session for like 20 minutes and talk about how did you think about this chapter in particular, inshallah. Then we're going to be talking about team development at the very end of this chapter, if we still have time, if we don't go through a group project through the virtual labs that are going to be introduced, inshallah. Okay, so these are the titles of the chapters, and we will inshallah go through them, and we will have inshallah a good course, inshallah. And usually people do introduce themselves at the very beginning, and I forgot to do that because it's Saturday and my mind is still in an on-off mode. My name is Haytham Jafar. I'm an assistant professor. I'm based in Jordan. I've been fortunate enough and happy enough, to be honest, to be with Hamdan for 3 years. My specialty is in strategic management and human resources, and I've been associated with Hamdan, as I said. I've been teaching this. I've taught this course 2 times before. That doesn't mean I'm an expert or anything, but I hope if I have something to offer and to learn from you guys, we have quite a good number here, and I'm sure we have many viewpoints because we're talking about things that are general slash specific things that we can inshallah integrate with each other. Okay, now before I start, inshallah, if I do miss any of your chat messages, please do say them again in every class. Okay, today we have only a limited number, I know that, but make that a habit if you don't mind. If I do miss any of your comments with whatever short or question or whatever, please feel free to use your microphone as much as you can. I would love that. And we have feedback. And if I don't get the chance to get all your comments and try to integrate sometimes comments together, it's because it's due to time limits only. Okay, it's due to the time limits. That was my 10 minutes. I hope I did not take more than that. I would like to hear now from Samira. She is raising her hand. Let's take 4, 5, 6 minutes tops, and then go into the chapter, because this is an important chapter, a foundation chapter, this chapter and the next one, so we can have a good solid pillar, so we can move along through the other chapters. Go ahead, Samira, please. If you can hear me, Samira, go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you, Doctor. Okay, good afternoon. First of all, يعني الحمد لله السلامة.
يسلمك يا ربي.
آمين يا رب. Okay, Doctor, I have just a few concerns. I mean, I'm going to talk about myself. Maybe there are other students in my position. Like during the class, I will be on my work. So if you have any, I mean, for the next working days. So for the participation, I don't know how you evaluate us, but if I didn't participate, like, I mean, if I didn't talk through the mic, that will affect my participation grade, if you have any.
Okay.
That's my answer.
All right.
I'm just putting a picture. I mean,
I do understand. I would like to hear 2, 3 people maybe, and try to maybe address. Anyone wants to talk about this issue or any other issue?
For myself, I can participate in writing, but I may not able to talk because I'm between my colleagues and in the office, so that will be difficult for me. So I just need your feedback in that. Thank you so much.
Okay. That is on my mind, to be honest, and that is one of the, if you don't mind, if there are no other comments for the time being, that's what I wanted to maybe what I meant, Samira and everybody else. These let's say these snapshots that I wanted to talk about, like the participation, for example. Okay, I do understand that some of you are maybe the majority. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. You do have full-time jobs, not part-time jobs, and like a lot of things to do. But let me clarify that the participation is essential. Yes, I do understand that not every time that you will be able to use your microphone. All right. If you don't mind, can we postpone that, the participation rubrics, the virtual labs, how it's going to be all about, the midterm, and also when time comes, the final exam. Let me put my thoughts in maybe writing and or in audio format. Then we talk about it maybe at the beginning of a class and try to figure out a solution. I do understand that you want to do good in this course and every other course, but also we have to adhere to guidelines, right? Me and you, right? I'm not saying I'm going to make it hard for you. I don't want to do that. But there are some points and weights for the participation. And yes, parts of them are about how effective and how active you are in the classes. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be burdening you guys. But the details, if you don't mind, let's postpone that for the coming week and try to figure out a solution, okay? Because can I be very honest? Can I be very honest? If you sign up for a course, whether you are a student, a learner, or any other walks of life, you do something and you have something else to do, you cannot do both in an efficient and effective manner as you want, right? So how would you feel like if I say, I don't care if your manager or colleagues, or I'm not going to say that, but I'm just saying, you have to be present from for 90 minutes from this time to this time and at this day. And if you don't, there will be consequences. I'm not going to do that. None of our colleagues will do that. Okay. But let's try to reach a solution. Okay. A solution, and the participation mark will not be on everything every week, but it will show who is with me and with their colleagues and who is not. Okay, if you all the time answer like yes and no questions, yes, I'm with you, doctor, no, I have a work to do, I have a work to do, I cannot talk, I cannot talk, I cannot even type, or I call your name 3 4 sometimes, excuse me for saying this, 10 times for consecutive weeks and you do not answer, well, that means this is not a priority for you, this course. Because of time clashes, I do understand. But let me not waste time on that because I do want to get into the chapter, but that is on my mind because that is an issue. I do understand. Believe me, I do understand. Okay? I do understand, inshallah. It can be extra, ما هو يا أمنة. Don't you want to get some extra points? Would you like to get some extra points? Because on the virtual labs, the professors and doctors going to be having a special dedicated training this coming Monday and Tuesday, and we will see how the allocation of that participation will look like. Okay, will look like. That's the only thing. I do want you to do good, but if somebody is more active than others in participation or any other thing, they do deserve to be recognized. And the recognition doesn't have to be also always on points, okay? But do you agree that they need to be recognized for their efforts on like a hierarchy or not? Does that make sense? I thank you for that. And I hope that you're not just saying that. I do want this to be a fully collaborative course. I do want that. Okay. I'm trying just while we're talking to send a quick email to the rest of the people. Are they having difficulty getting in or not? So excuse me if I'm looking for their chats. Okay. Okay. So I'm sure about that too, Farah. I'm sure about that too. Okay. So can we talk about a little bit about the slides and go ahead? That doesn't mean if you have a thought about what we talked about so far, you cannot bring it on. Maybe toward the end of today's class, if you still have time for 5-10 minutes of dialogue, okay? But let's get into it right now. What do you think? What do you think? Yeah? Okay, okay. Let me pinpoint this notion very clearly because sometimes I feel we lose track of this thing. We're talking about this course about teamwork. We are trying to privilege the conception of teamwork and see what are the ramifications of teamwork on certain issues in management science, okay, on business organizations and business schools. All right, that very specific idea will help you navigate the ideas when you try to connect other things outside the teamwork into what we are talking about. What I mean is, think about it like a big circle, this business organization. It has many, many aspects that you need to take care of as future managers, right? As future managers, or something related to supervisory roles that you might be encountered with. Whether you are going to be someone who is on such a role or be affected by such roles, all right? Dealing with other business organizations and what have you. So keep in mind as much as you can always that we are deliberately trying to put it in the center. It sometimes focuses your attention that uh, going from the zooming from inside out. Okay. Now, while we go along, this idea I will maybe repeat the certain chapters because they are more evident than other chapters. It will crystallize your thinking about. So we're talking about this. If I do certain models or theories or understand this about the dynamics of group work, for example, or using power through the lens of group work, what does that actually mean, and why is that too important for the organization to prosper? We're not saying that it is the magical silver bullet. Okay. I know that while I'm saying this right now, everybody hopefully agrees on that. But sometimes I feel that people lose track of this idea and they miss the connections, first of all, between the chapters themselves and the subsets of the chapters and the subtopics in them, and what are we trying to accomplish by having this course in the first place. Okay, we're trying to connect what is called teamwork as a concept that we deem necessary, okay, to other aspects that we also think that are very relevant to management and to business world to be acting in the most proper way possible in today's world. Okay, so maybe go back to this idea and try to rekindle it whenever you feel that, okay, I'm a little bit lost right now. Why are we talking about this and this and this in this certain manner and putting this in always in center stage? Okay, that doesn't mean that everybody or some of you will have that issue, but I feel that that's what happens when we talk about a bit of specific issues and try to then enlarge them and paint a bigger brush on a certain specialty, whether you're talking about management, psychology, law, engineering, whatever that is. All right? Inshallah. Okay. I hope people are not having some problems in the connection. I see people coming in and out repeatedly. And okay. Is my voice clear to you guys? We didn't pass 15 people. Okay, inshallah. So these are the things that we're going to be talking about, inshallah. Okay, good, good. Okay, great. We're talking about what a group is, why they are important, talk about some types of groups, and what do we actually want to have some certain characteristics, at least at the very least according to our textbook, to have what we called a productive group, okay, as part of the types of groups and stages of group development, okay. And if we have to still have time, we will go to the field of group dynamics and talk about one of the main uh, uh, scholars actually in group work and group dynamics, which is Kurt Lewin. Okay, throughout the late 40s and 50s and beyond, he was a pioneer actually, along with several colleagues in putting it on the map. Okay, in the business world, in specific. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to be touching upon, inshallah. Are the slides clear to you guys? Let me just check what you guys are talking about here. Okay, about the voice. Okay, okay. So if I ask a very direct question, When you hear the word group, what comes to your mind? What is a group? Not necessarily, in a business world, of course. Very quickly, very short and concise. What do you think, Samira? Go ahead, please. Then we will go to maybe Omar. No, Omar left.
Okay, Doctor.
Number of
Now, regardless what's mentioned on the PowerPoint, when we say a group, I can think of like a group of people, like more than one or three. It could be in the work, it could be in group work, but it comes to my mind directly a group of people working together or living together or whatever. So,
good, very good. Number of people, sorry, Abdullah is saying, bonding together. That's a good comprehensive word that echoes what Samira said. Number of people together, Amna. Shared goals, that they have shared goals. Yes, Farah, go ahead, please. If you can hear us, Farah, you can go ahead. If you want to write, Farah, if there is something wrong with your microphone, if you prefer now to write, that's absolutely okay. Collaborative efforts. Okay, Omar. Anything else? Anybody wants to add something? Maybe something that hasn't been mentioned, maybe. Do they have to have a certain number? Is there a maximum and a minimum, for example? What do you think? Surely, more than one stick together to achieve their aims, regardless of their differentiation or differences between them, Mariam is saying. Okay. I am not sure if Farah is trying to talk. There's somebody else. There is, I think, some kind of an echo, but for my part, I cannot hear.
Okay, Doctor, can you hear me now?
Farah, is that you? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I wanted to say that a group is a set of people, like more than two, that are connected or gathered to do a certain activity or gathered by specific interest or a purpose. It's not necessarily to like are gathered by like they have something in common, but lately the group is gathered to do something, to be function, to achieve something. So yeah, that's what I
Okay.
wanted to say.
So maybe Amna is saying maybe maximum 15 people. Are you talking about 15 when you're going to your mind going to business world, to business organizations, Amna? Please leave the slides alone, guys. Well, there is no consensus about that, Amna, but I think I understand what you mean. But with the advent of hyper technology and everything, maybe we can talk about more than 15 these days. You know, you're talking about a number that can be manageable, right? Maybe that's what you're trying to say, if I'm not mistaken, right, Amna? All of you are correct. All of you are pinpointing the main characteristics, I would say, for what a group is actually. Okay. There is something I want to mention though. There is a direct link between whether you talk about a group is a family. Can families be groups? Is family an example of a group? In more than ways we can say, right? Yeah, we can enlarge it. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. But of course, we're going to be starting zooming in into the business world, of course, and business organizations in specific. But goals or, as you guys maybe said, intentions or aims or certain beliefs even, or something shared. That's very important, that's very crucial. More than two people. I'm hesitant to say the word open about the maximum number, but you get the idea. Okay, now with the virtual world, you can have, just look at the Zoom meetings, and that's just an example, hundreds of people. Okay, are they groups? Well, they do have certain shared goals. Some of them may be temporary, some of them may be more permanent in nature, but it is in more ways than one a group, right? It is a group. It is a group. Okay, it is a group. Do we have subgroups in a group? Of course, also that is something we can also talk about. Okay. Yes, Farah, you want to say, you want to add something?
No, doctor, I forget to remove
It's
that.
okay. It's okay. I was just checking. It's fine. It's fine. So there is a linkage between a goal or an intended purpose that is shared and the definition of a group actually. When we say a shared a goal or aim, does that mean everybody should be online or on board with this aim or this goal entirely, or to a large extent, like 90-85%? I I think the answer will be logically no, because actually it will beat the purpose, right? Whether you're talking about business world or otherwise. You don't have to agree on everything and every bit of detail to be considered a group. The aim might be comprehensive enough. It might have some aspects specific enough, but both of them and what comes in between, there might be some disagreements. Do you agree on that? Is this agreement between the thing that unifies the group in the first place, or one of the main corners of it? Does it make a group dissolve if they are not agreeing on something? Do you think? What are your thoughts about that? Let's give that just a two minutes. Why then? But the question is why? If we don't agree to a large extent on what we are trying to do, why we are bothering to bring ourselves together? Okay, feel free to think about this in your departments, if you are in the organization, or any other aspect of groups. Let me hear what Samira has to say, and I do want to hear from the silent people. Okay, and I mean hear and read. Yes, Abdullah, I got your comment as well. Yes, Samir, go ahead. I'm waiting for you to talk.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
I'm,
I'm
I'm just
sorry
going through the.
if I'm interrupting between and disturbing you, Doctor.
No, it's okay. No, of course not. This is a very collaborative first chapter. I'm happy about this. I
Thank
just
you.
wish we were more people. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Doctor, from my point of view, group it's not about like who is right, who is wrong. It's about learning from each other. It's about putting your point and taking others. And you may agree or disagree, but it's not about like only I'm right and others are wrong. And if my point is not accepted, then I mean, like, take a personal take it personally. It's not about group is sharing information, learning from each other, and I may be wrong and others are right, so I can learn from them. So it is about sharing information, changing information, and building up on it. That's
Okay.
my understanding about group work or group.
And, yeah, thank you, Samira. And I think that's pretty logical, right? Does anybody have any issues against that idea? Okay, if you don't take the complexities and the conundrums that are happening in the, just let's just take the business world. Okay, do, do groups face new things that they did not expect when they set their initial goals or not? Of course they do, right? They do. Okay, they might not deviate very much from their initial goal, but new things might rise up. Different points of view might have relationship dynamics to be different, and that might lead to, in some cases, controversies. Does that mean that this is not a group anymore? No, not at all. Farah is saying conflict and disagreement can not only be healthy, but they can also result in a better decision in general. Yes, if they are geared and steered in a fashionable, modern managerial way, if we talk about business world. Thank you for that, Farah. And can strengthen and deepen the group's relationships. And what we want is relationships that will lead to the one of the tenets of the why the group came together in the first place, which are the goals and the development of these goals. And the development of these goals. Mariam is agreeing, and I think that is a good point, a valid point. But remember when we talked about at the very beginning, just when we put teamwork in the middle, in the center, try to remember that as well, okay? It's a very logical, very rational idea, but just don't lose sight of it when we talk about things like how the power or leadership issues come into play when we talk about the groups, how do they work with each other, okay? Now that leads me to the word dynamics. It's a very, very long introduction to go to the title of the chapter, but I'm very happy about the discussion, to be honest. That's why we're talking about the dynamics as well, okay? Starting with how the goals are formulated. Are they dictated on you? Are they top down? If you talk about organization, okay, Safiya, okay? And please, if I say your name or spell it wrong, do interrupt me immediately, okay? Especially in the first few chapters. And I do apologize from now if I'm not saying your name right, okay? Dynamics, very important, okay, in this chapter. And that's how I want to the remaining hour to be all centered about the dynamics of the group, okay, dynamics of the group, okay. And I'm glad that we're agreeing on the main points so far, okay. Do you agree that as humans we have an inherent social nature? To be honest, this is a easy slash hard question. But all in all, can you live in isolation for a lot of time in the 21st century? Can you? That's one part of maybe actually a pivotal point why groups are important. If you talk about business or otherwise, you cannot do it on your own, but take that with a bunch of salt, okay? Even within your group, let's take the number that we talked about earlier, 15. Some of the tasks to achieve the goals that these 15 people or 20 people want to do might be very individualistic tasks, but they do contribute to the common goal at the very end, correct? We are social in nature. We are social animals as a psychological, they say that the new term in psychology in the 60s and 70s, okay? We are connected, okay? Sometimes whether we like it or not, even if you're, I don't want to deviate a lot. I do want to finish the chapter, to be honest, as much as we can, but you cannot live in isolation. You cannot, even if your personality, your upbringing, your productivity even, if it's in an individualistic manner, um, being in a group, if it's steered and managed in the correct way in accordance with your innate nature, you will be better, others will be better. That's proven. جنة بدون ناس ما تنداس. Yes, that's a good that's a good saying, to be honest, and I think it clarifies a lot what we talk. If الجنة هيك يعني, how about we talk about something else like less than that, life on earth. Okay, thank you for that, Mariam. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. So far so good. So far, so is it too fast, guys? Is it too simplistic? Are we going slow in talking about taking things for granted? Okay then. Okay, let's speed up the pace just a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, so so um, we are social animals, as we said. We have the behaving and thinking, and how do we are educated, and our perspectives and our outlooks of life do have a linkage to how we actually work together. How we actually work together. Okay, we talked about the definition of groups, and I do want you, of course, to go back all to the chapter and get more details. But we covered what we want to talk about when we say groups. Okay, goals of the groups are different, right? They are different. There need to be goals. There need to be different dynamics and interdependencies. There need to be interaction in them. I'm talking about like the hallmarks of what constitutes a group, like a summary of all or most of what we said. Okay, a perception of membership. You can talk about a group, a definition of a group, that it consists of. I'm not saying that this is the definition that you have to take in this course or in the textbook, but it is a pretty good one, to be honest. Two or more people who perceive themselves as belonging to a group. The feelings that you have that I am part of these group of people, these individuals that constitute what is named a group, it's called a perception of ownership, and it's very important in distinguishing what the conception of what a group is. Okay, what a group is. All right. Is there a controversy, as we said? Yes. How does that controversy come about? When we don't see eye to an eye. That can be remedied, as Samira is saying, helping to understand. Maryam is saying animal. You mean social animals? It's just an expression that in the field of psychology actually was introduced in the mid to 50s. That we are, it was just popularized by a psychologist at that time. That's the only thing, Maryam. It's just something that was in the field of psychology, and because not everybody actually believed that groups are important in business world and in society as a whole. It was something taken for granted and does not need to be studied and structured. Okay, so it was just a window into that we are socially structured, whether we like it or not. That the whole thing, Maniam. Clear? Just like a side note actually. تمام. All right. Yeah, I do understand when we translate it into Arabic, it doesn't give the same uh, connotation. If I oh, okay, all right, but you get the idea, huh? You get the idea. So can we agree that there are more than one lens of looking into the definition of groups? There are more than one way to penetrate what the conception of a group is actually, right? Focusing on the number, focusing on the goal, focusing on the influence between each other, the controversies or the mismatch between viewpoint. It comes because everybody's trying to influence the ideas of somebody else for the sake of getting a certain goals. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely okay. Okay. All right then. All right. All right. Do you join groups sometimes to satisfy a certain need that you have? That might be the driving force why you go to a certain group willingly. You want to be part of that group because it satisfies an important need in you. Can that be a driving force? And it can be incorporated in a definition of a team, sorry, in a group. Can some, let's take 20, 30 seconds and ask you for an example. Again, it doesn't have to be in the business world. I'm asking Samira, you join a certain group because there is a need that you have and there is a motivation to satisfy that need, and that's why groups actually form. One of the reasons why groups form, because they want to satisfy a certain need, not just because they have mutual goals or there's an interdependence or what have you, the other point that we talked about. Somebody raised it, was it Samira or somebody else wanted to say something? Maryam, sorry. Go ahead, Maryam.
Doctor.
Hello, hello.
Hi. Yes, sometimes I join the group even if I don't know anybody in the group. Only because I want to see myself that I can lead a group even they have a different personality or difficulty to understand the task. So it's only something that I want to make sure that from my side, يعني.
We do have some some needs, right? And I want to satisfy them. And there's already an established group that is doing that. Why cannot I join them and satisfy that need? It might be as simple as practicing a certain hobby, right? I'm just setting examples outside the business world and organizations. Even inside the organizations, okay, if you are on a certain career ladder and you are on a crossroad, I have a need to be contributing to the business world through the um, financial aspect of, of the business. I have that need. I feel I can contribute to that. And there's a certain group or affiliation inside my organization, okay, that actually delivers that or enhances that, both maybe formally slash in a more relaxed manner, informally. Why don't I join that? I'm not saying it should be a super high need that if you don't have it in a certain group, you will like not be able to function as a human or be very, very or something. It can be like basic needs, everyday needs that can be channeled through a certain group. Please keep that in mind. The motive, not a window actually, can be is all right. Joining an organization or work in general to satisfy self-actualization. I want to do better in my career. Yeah, and you can go into a deeper example of that, Farah. Maybe what I just said about the financial aspect. I do want to go into the numbers and ratios and what have you, for example. Thank you for that. Samira, you want to add something?
Okay. Yes, doctor. I mean, you almost say everything, but like group is like it's not only for work. Sometimes you join a group for fun. Sometimes you join a group to understand some things like things not clear to you. For example, sometimes you learn from your group even more than you learn in your class or in your study. So joining a group is something useful and helpful. I think so. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, no, of course. Now, based on what we said so far about the conception of group, page number 8, all right, page number 8, there is this table that talks about what is the best way to define a group. I want you to have a look at it, okay, have a look at it, and I will post that in the VLE, don't worry, just to, first of all, to sharpen our thoughts and have a recollection of what we are talking about right now. And second of all, people who did not manage maybe to come today, maybe they can go through these previous 2 or 3 pages in the textbook and try to see if they can answer or rank the definitions that are put through in this page. Okay, I think it's a very straightforward exercise. I'm just giving you heads up, people who are right now here. Okay, so what is the best way to define a group? And let's see what you guys think. Okay, it's not a task, it's not a homework, but something that you maybe think about later on. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before moving on to the other aspects of groups, talk about maybe stages and types and everything like that. Does everybody agree that groups exist? Not, and I'm going to be talking a little bit. Give me like 10 minutes if you don't mind. I'm not saying that I'm not happy with the participation, but I'm just minding the time, and we don't have. I want to cover the chapter. Okay, not everybody actually agrees that groups exist, believe it or not. Okay, there are different viewpoints, two main ones, and they do, both of them have traces not just in the business world, but in other aspects of life. Now, people who say there are no groups, they are not disillusioned. They just say that their orientation toward group conception is not that essential in dealings of life. You mentioned more than once, I think Abdullah, Farah, and Maryam, and all of you, I think the word society a lot, society at large. But not everybody says that there are an group orientation toward that, to be honest. Okay? Some people say it's more like, or mainly actually like, an individualistic orientation, and they do have some research to back it up. Now, why am I mentioning this? So you can be aware that in OB, which is organization behavior, and maybe dealings in HRM, human resources management, if we talk about in specific about functions and tasks in management, that some organizations treat the group and the teamwork conceptions in a different manner, and that difference, sorry, is not always a slight difference. Okay, that is the main objective actually of mentioning that whether groups actually exist or not, and that is actually everything that I want you. I mean, the main thing that I want you to focus on in this subheading of this chapter. Okay, what Assalamu alaikum again. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me now. I think it's my turn to disconnect and reconnect again. I'm sorry. I lost the connection for a minute. Okay. What is the last thing that you heard from me, guys? I was talking about group orientation and individualistic orientation. Did you hear me say that? That some of the scholars in the business world in general and in the dealings of organization behavior in specific and HRM do not agree that groups are that important and they actually exist. Did you guys hear that from me? I mean, okay. Why do you think what is their rationale? Can you just think about it for a couple of seconds? Why would somebody say in today's world, not in just today's world, that an individualistic orientation actually is the way to go when dealing with dealings with society at large or with the business world? Yes, Mariam, what are your thoughts? I would like to hear from the rest of all.
I will say what I guess, but I don't
It's
100% agree
okay.
with them.
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. I think they would like to say that because most of the thing in business world will work effectively and will succeed more when the person will work by his own يعني by himself يعني without helping of other, because most of the time the other will not collaborate effectively and will not believe his idea. So working alone will achieve your aim because you know what you want and you will believe in that. Maybe this is their idea.
Good, Mariam. I'm gonna comment at the very end, Mariam, if you don't mind. But good answer. Okay, I'm gonna comment when other people, other your colleagues, maybe say what they think or write what they think. Why would somebody say that groups do not exist? It's a very general question. I know it's. What do you think? There is a belief in individuals more. Maybe echoing what, yeah, outcomes rather in a group. It's hard to manage groups. It's not worth it. It's too complex. It's too costly to bring people together, especially if there's a big number of people, maybe. Is that it? There will be clashes and about leadership, maybe. Their own interests, okay? And that's more important. Common goals are tough. Social loofing takes place, yeah. Okay. So it's not worth the trouble, maybe. You guys are right. You guys are right. Well, also they say if you talk about group dynamics, okay, if you talk about group dynamics, at the end of the day, you're talking about people, 20, 25, 100 people. They do have interactions between and amongst themselves as individuals. So you go back to the main idea, it's all about the individual, okay? Or at the very least, a small group of individuals, okay? Limited number of individuals. So let's focus on that. No need to go into a added layer of complexity and say that no, groups actually do have an entity and identity of themselves separate of the people who constitute them. And that is the main difference between these two orientations. Consumes time, Amna is saying, echoing what you guys are writing. Yeah. Okay. they do not negate that there are advantages of group work, but they say it's not worth the trouble into going into that much of a detail and going into the rules and norms and the structuring and how to go to the stages of how a group actually develops and how to treat groups as a separate conception of the people who constitute them. On the other hand, the group orientation says exactly otherwise. Okay, that is the very, very main difference between the two, between the two. All right. I don't want to go into the research that tries to favor each of these two due to time limits. Okay, but is this idea clear to you guys? The difference between an individualistic orientation and group orientation? Do you have any idea or anything to say about the merits of focusing on the individual rather than the group? Do you think they are totally wrong? Do you think they have, well, there are some valid points that they're trying to raise, maybe in small organizations, maybe, why not? Why not? Maybe if you talk about things that are very novel, very entrepreneurial, maybe you don't have to jump into a group orientation all of a sudden, maybe, okay? I'm trying to say that is there is maybe a balance, but for me, if you talk about in today's business world, the accumulation of ideas, when you talk about group work and group dynamics, it's actually worth it. I'm going to put it simple and to the point. I think it's worth it. The points that an individualistic orientation proponents actually raise, I think they can be worthwhile the trouble if you want to go into a group orientation. Okay, that's what I think. And this is actually the viewpoint of our textbook. Otherwise, it will not be called teamwork, our course, correct? Yeah. So groups are actually important, but there are people who do not see it as an very much an essential thing as a group orientation looks for it, right? Did I lose you guys? Can you hear me? Just checking. Yeah? Okay, okay. Feeling a little bit bored now? Okay, okay, okay. Now, let's talk about this now. Groups and the quality of life. Groups and quality of life. Knowledge of group dynamics. Again, if we are adopting a group orientation, which our textbook is actually, of course, doing, knowledge of these group dynamics is considered like a tool that can make our lives better and more meaningful because it can help us build effective groups in every walk of life. Okay? Follows from that, we can pinpoint these, the these hallmarks, let me say, okay? Understanding group dynamics is central to maintaining a viable family if we talk about something outside the business organization. A knowledge of group dynamics and the different roles and differences and how to deal with them can make a better viable families. It can make better industries, better businesses, okay? It's better for education. Do you think you learn better by reading and analyzing and synthesizing alone, no matter how passionate you are about a certain subject, or when you contrast your ideas with somebody who agrees or disagrees with you? Just one person, one other person, one other person. Is it better to share these knowledge with other person so you can gain more insights, for people who go into a group orientation is better. It's better. It's better for as a quality of life if we adopt that notion, as I said. Okay, it's better to education. Actually, it's better to education. Yeah, yeah. It's better to have a better psychological health. As we said earlier on, we are social entities, if you want. I think it was Maryam. We are social entities, right? We cannot live in isolation for long. We need other people in our lives. We need to talk. We need to communicate. We need to reach out. We do need to reach out. All right, we need to reach out. For the long term, at the very least, we do need that psychological health. Actually, we do need that. Okay, so these are just very basic points that why groups actually are important. Why are they important? Okay, why are they important? Right? Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead actually. We have like less than 30 minutes to go. I want to talk about uh, a group performance curve, if you don't mind. Okay, I would like to talk about that right now. I'm gonna skip ahead the roles and statuses, all right? I'm gonna skip ahead these ones. Can you see this graph? The group performance curve. Is this clear to you guys? It is? Does anybody have a difficulty in seeing this? This slide in specific? Any difficulties? Okay, okay. Of course it's mentioned and it's in the our textbook, right? What do you think this is all about? Performance curve of groups. If we study the dynamics of groups, and scholars actually do that, and pioneered by somebody called Kurt Lewin, as we said, we can identify certain stages depending on their performances. Depending on their performances, okay? We can distinguish between four main ones. Four main ones. The first one is called, anybody had a chance to look at the book? Oh, that's not a very fair question, right? Actually, it's a pseudo group, okay? A pseudo group, all right? The type of group that has maybe the lowest performance um, in this curve and this point of view of how to determine the performances is called a pseudo group, okay? What does pseudo mean, actually? Anybody? Pseudo group or pseudo? What is a pseudo group? Not that genuine. Actually, it's PCEUDO. Fake is one of the literal meanings of that. You're absolutely right, Farah. Imitation, not that real. Something like that. You get the idea. Okay. So here we don't have all the main characteristics that we talked about when we said what makes a group. Remember? The motivation, there are certain goals that are mostly shared, two people or more, and what have you. Okay? So people start in this stage, pseudo group. Okay? What that means is that they are being brought together, or they are together actually, not despite their willingness, but it's not something that they totally agreed on yet. They don't have an interest in being in this group yet. It's not much of a big interest, concern for them to be with person A, B, C, D. there is no motivation, there is no interest. I cannot see the point yet. I don't know these people. I don't want to work with them, not because there is something personal or I don't have time or whatever that is yet. I don't have enough information about why am I in this group from the first place. I have been instructed, maybe I have been depending on a certain system or a certain regulation or a certain procedure, being put in a position where Haytham, Amna, Maryam, Abdullah, Amir, Usama, and everybody are working together, but they don't have an interest in being together, or the interest in being together and doing work together and having some certain dynamics. Who does what? And how much do I have to do this? And for how long are we going to be formed together is very little or not existent yet. That's one of the stages, that we can identify at the very least, according to our book, about what we call the group performance curve. Do you think the performance of such a group is high, medium, or low, for example, according to your thinking? What is the amount or the measurement or the level of performance in this idea? It's high, Samira. Samira says it's high. High, medium, or low, it's high. They don't have enough interest in working together yet, but it says high. Why would it be high? You meant low, right, Samira? You meant low. You wanted to say low. Am I correct, Samira? Because all the other, I think.
Doctor, I thought in general,
Yeah.
group work it gives you a higher performance, but if they are not interesting, if they are not collaborating or communicating each other, of course, definitely it will be low.
Of course,
Yeah.
the things that we said that distinguish this very specific stage of groups that don't want to be together in the first place or don't see the point is very low, right? They will not be working together as efficient. Okay, why would I bother? Why would I bother? Okay, but still, it is one of the stages. Okay, it's one of the stages. Okay, if you don't have an interest with working with somebody else and you don't want to collaborate, you might actually have two main modes, let me say. You can be indifferent, or you can be actually on the negative side of it and try to compete or try to get out, to get out of that group. I don't see the point. I don't see the point. Okay. Now, as you start to understand, or between two brackets, forced to stay in that group, to what we call a traditional work group, you start to accept, okay, being in that group little by little. You start seeing the benefits, no matter how small, all right? Or on the other hand, you start seeing the negatives of not working in this group. Yes, I'm trying to gear these stages now to the business world little by little, but maybe sometimes you don't have that much of a choice of leaving that group or being indifferent. There might be some consequences. Let's be realistic. Okay? This type of a group is called a traditional work group. You start to accept that you have to do so. And I know the word have to, it's not that much of a pleasant world if you talk about things like collaboration and things that we talked about at the very beginning of, after we made the introduction, that it's all about collaboration, it's all about motivation, it's all about bringing people together to achieve certain goals. But sometimes you have to be in a certain group. What do we call that group again? What do we call it, Usama? Are you with us? Amir? Zabia? I hope I'm mentioning your names right, guys. Muhammad? Moza? Safiya, Yulia. I hope I'm mentioning your names right, guys. I'm just looking for the silent people who we didn't hear from. If everything okay. Sorry, I'm really sorry. It's called traditional. Obviously, the performance level is higher than the pseudo group, right? It's higher. Do you agree that the performance is a little bit higher? Does it make sense? Yeah. Okay. But is the motivation still high, medium, or low? Because I used the word have to. You can say it's medium. You can say maybe even if it's toward the low measurements of actually performance. Okay, I do want to do this and get over with it and just get out of these tasks or these responsibilities that I have with this specific group. Okay, maybe medium, maybe low. Yeah. Okay. What is the third group type? It's an effective group. It's more than the sum of its part. Synergy. Now we are moving into a higher level. Do you see the difference between, tell me if you see this. I'm trying to color it right now. This. The movement between from here to here, you still have minimum performance. Once you jump here, what do we call this? It's not traditional. It's an effective group now. It's starting to be a more effective group. Okay? There's kind of synergy. The information that you have about two main things, people who are working with you and the actual clearer, more distinctive reasons between two brackets, aims of why we are together in the first place, what are the mutual goals, and what is it in it for me as well, by the way. And we're going to be talking about that in future chapters. They start to be crystallized more. Okay? They start to be crystallized more. Now, I am committed to maximizing my own benefits and successes, not on the expense of other members in this group that I did not want to be with them in the first place, but also their successes, no matter what that success means. But one term of thinking about that success is performance is high, goals will be more likely to be what achieved. It's a high performance group. It is a high performance level. Absolutely right. Absolutely right, Farah. Absolutely right. Are roles and responsibilities, in your opinion, clearer in this stage? That's a very easy question, of course. I think a very easy question. Does that mean that they do all agree with each other right now? Not necessarily, but the motivation is getting higher, right? The cooperation is getting higher. We are moving from a have to, need to, want to be working together. I see the benefits now. I see the benefits. Let's give it a realistic flavor here. Okay? Do you enjoy being in every group that you are in? Think about it like that. Whether in work or not in work. Don't you sometimes feel that you misjudged, maybe not the whole group, misjudged a certain members in a group, or the goals of being a certain group, that you just, I cannot get rid of this, and you slowly and gradually saw the benefits that are that you are reaping of being actually a member in that group. It might take a while, but do you think that it happens in your day-to-day lives? Doesn't have can you feel that sometimes? You solve the conflicts, you see other aspects of how being in this group is actually benefiting me that did not happen before. I couldn't see that this will lead to this, but as we progressed, oh, the performance of us as a group actually got higher, and I elevated my success with that group as well. I did that. It happened. It happened. All right. Of course, the last stage is a high performance group. Here, we meet all the criteria of an effective group, and it actually, all the expectations, all the goals are either being met, developed, or exceeded. They have been exceeded. As a result, the performance is highest in this stage. It's absolutely highest in this stage. What do we call this stage again? A high performance group, which is more effective, more the performance of it is higher than an effective group, than an effective group. Do you think that at this stage, if we do actually progress from here to here, there is a bigger chance of being a more permanent group, even if the group dissolves or not? The relationships between two brackets and the dynamics, would they be on a more continuous fashion or not? Is that clear? If you reach this stage, you made it to this stage, the performance is higher. Okay, granted, I'm happy about that. What about the relationships and the dynamics? Do you think they will continue? Maybe they will form subgroups. Maybe will they regroup in a different setting? Maybe not all not group members, some of them. They will have the inclination to work together in a better or the same or in a lesser way, do you think? Of course, in a better way. They might skip this stage next time. There were 20 people. 6 of them are going to work together again. They might even skip this stage. Although the goals of the second group maybe might be different, they might actually jump somewhere here. Maybe. Okay? Even if the goals are now different, even if the settings are different. Okay? And we will touch upon this idea again as a manager. Farah, Mariam, Amna, Abdullah, everybody else. If you can pinpoint what makes them tick, what made them reach this level, you can share that with other group members. You can mimic their successes. And what I mean by successes is performances, and replicate them in a different manner. And that is what all business is about, isn't it? Do things that you are doing in a better way, and or create new things, new novel things, to do things in a creative way and in an entrepreneurial way. Isn't it that what every business is striving for at the end of the day? Isn't it? Right? If you think about it in that angle, from that angle. Makes sense? I like people who disagree as well, by the way. Okay, give it a, okay. So the 4 groups are clear, inshallah. I know we have less than like 6-7 minutes. Now, the last thing I want to mention here, the group performance group is one way of thinking about stages of groups. It's not the best way, it's not the most um, prevailing view, but it can be applied rather realistically to almost any type of organizations, to be honest. That doesn't mean there are more complex, more detailed groups and subgroups or stages between these four, and some scholars actually go into deeper analyses about that. But for the purposes of our chapter, our textbook, we're going to be focusing on this one. Tamam? If you want to test your understanding about the four groups, okay, I say tamam a lot, okay, please get used to that. On page 20, there is something called types of groups. They give you the pseudo group, traditional group, effective group, and high performance group, and a certain definition. It's not that hard, but if you want to test if your understanding is correct or not, give it a thought, give it a try, and give me what you think the definition is, maybe through email, and I will tell you the correct answer. Although it's not that hard, it's just like a revision, if you want, a revision of this graph that we talked about. And because we talked about it a lot, it means it is what? It is something important in this chapter. Yeah? Page 20 on our textbook, in our ebook, yeah. All right. In the last 5 minutes, please do bear with me. I'm going to read to you how to create an effective group. If you want to have an overall effective group, and every manager, every management wants to reach stage number, what do you think? Of course, stage number 4. You have to, keep an eye on 3 things. You have to achieve the goals. Okay. Do you want to have high performance that will not lead to the goals? Oh, our performance was very high, but we did not achieve the primary goals. We focused on the secondary ones. Is that effective enough? Well, no, actually, right? No, I want to go to the very main ones at the very, to achieve that, and then go beyond, and then go beyond, and deeper and deeper. So you have to achieve the goal. You want to maintain the working relationships. Do you want Maryam to be a tough leader? We are 13 people now in the class or in this room. She's a very tough leader. She's very results oriented, and we achieved a high performance, and we even beat the deadline. But I will never work with Maryam again. She exhausted me. She made me miss other deadlines, and she was, uh, you know, she did not take my. I'm not gonna say. She did not take the overall surrounding aspects of my job or other tasks into consideration. That was just an example, Mariam, just an example, okay? You do want to preserve the relationships. If you achieve high performance, but people do not want to come together again, that's not the ideal situation, all right? That's not the ideal situation. So you do want to preserve the relationships, and if circumstances change, do you think business world will let you go through 1, 2, 3, 4 smoothly each time? No, actually. If you don't mind, Samira, just for the sake of time, can I just finish these thoughts, if you don't mind? But keep your idea in your head. Please don't lose it. Don't forget about it, if you don't mind. Okay, Samira? Do you think that... No, it's okay, Samira. Uh, do you think that the transition here, accepting each other and being collaborative, is always a smooth transition? It depends on a lot of factors: how difficult the goals are, how many people you have, are the goals new and difficult to these people, a lot of things. But the business world will not stop from changing. So adaptability is also key. Adaptability to having an effective group. If things go on a different manner and they cannot steer it back to the goals, well, They will not have a high performance. As simple as that. They will not have that. They will not have that. All right. So there are guidelines that offers a like a comparison of effective and ineffective groups. If you guideline number one, if you establish clear operational and relevant group goals, you will have a better chance of having an effective group rather than an effective group. Straightforward. If you establish effective two-way communication, also that's key, as some of you also pinpointed right now in the chat. Ensure that leadership and participation are distributed, okay, among all group members depending on the situation. There is no obedience. There is no obedience in today's world. If you adopt, again, what? Again, this is very important, a group orientation rather than individualistic orientation. And you want to ensure that power also, not just leadership, is distributed and people, you know, they influence according to the needs of the group. If I am good in numbers, does it make sense at a certain stage of a certain project in our group that trying to achieve that I take control? For example, me and somebody, or maybe a certain section or department, it does. If we talk about something related to, let's say something related to buying raw material and getting good vendors, and somebody have expertise in that, we switch the power to those people, and we talk about that in advance. We have to plan. If you do that, do you have a better chance of having an effective group rather than an ineffective one or less effective one? Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, absolutely. So guideline number 5 is decision-making procedures with the needs of the situation. They need to be matched and engaging in a constructive controversy by disagreeing and challenging each other and reasoning and promoting creative decision. We don't have to agree on everything, but we want to reach a solution that satisfies everybody. That is key. That's guideline number 6 before the last. And lastly, we talk about facing the conflicts and resolving them in a constructive ways. Not if I have a conflict with the leader or a certain stage in our group that I just leave or being indifferent or trying to sabotage. So please do think about these 7 principles or guidelines that distinguish between an effective rather than ineffective groups. They are straightforward, but it's worthwhile to look at them in the book as well. Okay, in the book as well. Okay. I'm going to be forced to stop here, okay, and call it a day. And this is chapter 1. I'm very happy about the discussions that we have. There is a field of group dynamics that talks about Kurt Lewin. We will come back to that. Maybe I will come back to that later on and talk about maybe the history of the group dynamics. It doesn't mean that it's not important, but I do want to mention it maybe in like 10-15 minutes, and you can listen to it, inshallah, and see what were the influences of Kurt Lewin. Okay, what were the influences of Kurt Lewin? But I think we did cover the main points. We didn't talk about online groups, although it's a hallmark of what's happening these days in our life, on our planet. Some of the dynamics that we actually mentioned are changing because of the introduction of technology. Do you think that the dynamics of leadership and distribution of power, for example, are the same that we are talking here now, 13, 14, 15 people through a certain platform online, is the same if we had a face-to-face one, or we had a mix like 70%, 30%? It's not exactly the same. Would that affect performance? Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, absolutely. Okay, so From my part, I need to talk about a little bit the theoretical aspect of the field of group dynamics and what were the main contributions of somebody called Kurt Lewin, who was actually a pioneer. And next time, inshallah, we're going to talk about chapter number 2. Just a heads up, we're going to have a quick information orientation for 15 minutes, inshallah, during that class. Somebody will come from library services and give us a summary of how we can, use the services and what updates that they have on Monday, inshallah. And hopefully that will not interfere with the content of our, I mean, we will cover as much as we can, even if they take those 15, 20 minutes, inshallah. Okay, I know I took more than the time that I should. If you have something to do now, you are free to go. If you want to stick around and listen to what other people have got to say, of course, you are more than welcome. If you have a question, a comment, a complaint, you can do so right now. I can stick around for 10 more minutes. I do have something to do in 20 minutes, if you don't mind. But we can continue everything that we're doing right now through emails and other means in the VLE, not just this section, any other section. I'm all ears right now about anything you want to talk about, whether the course in general, the contents that we talked about. Please don't leave the e-textbook alone. We cannot cover everything in these chapters. The guidelines that we talked about, those are the guidelines that constitute most of the chapters that we are going to be covering in detail in this textbook. Please do pay attention to chapters 1 and 2 very well, because these two are the foundation actually of what comes next, inshallah. يعطيكم انتم العافية كمان. أعتذر جدا. I'm very sorry for what happened last week. We have less than 20 people that came today. I do understand it's a Saturday, and I don't want to take much of your time. Now I'm going to be silent and answer as much as I can what anything that you have to say, whether you want to talk about it, speak, use your microphone, or text about it. شكرا لكم جميعا. الله يخليك. شكرا محمد. Thank you everybody. الله يخليكم. شكرا. As I said, look for the common resources in the VLE during the course. I will be posting things that are, I think, on your mind, and we will talk about them more than once in class and out with the classes, so we can have a better chance of achieving what we want from this course, inshallah, this semester. Thank you everybody for coming today. I can stick around, as I said, 10-15 minutes if you have anything to say. I think Samira, you had one question. If I'm not mistaken, there was something. So maybe Abdullah, if I'm not mistaken, wanted to say something, and I asked them to wait till the very end. And of course, everybody else is welcome to ask or comment anything. Have a nice rest of your weekend. See you on Monday if you have to leave now. See you everybody, inshallah. See you next time. Hello, Dhabi. I'm just asking if you have any question or comment because you're the last one right now in the channel, right now in the room. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.